Frustrates this. How so?
Well, because the conversations are apparently part of the materials that were seized by the FBI, and because his principal client was the President of the United States. So presumably those tapes are there. Now, he has said publicly, I didn't tape the president. But yesterday in court, in the proceeding that Laura just so nicely described for us, when the judge said to the government, what is the basis for the pursuit of Mr. Cohen? They revealed for the first time that Cohen has been under surveillance for months. Electronic surveillance, meaning his telephone, his emails, and his text messages. Who was he talking to in those months? Among other people, the President of the United States. And federal prosecutors were listening to that.
So there would actually be audio of it, but just not by Michael Cohen's direction.
Yes. So right now, everything the FBI sees is in an FBI locker. The federal prosecutors who dispatch the FBI to get it are not allowed to see it.
Right.
Until the FBI copies it, gives a copy to the feds, a copy to Mr. Cohen's lawyers, and a copy to the president's lawyers.
And that was a victory for Cohen yesterday, because now they'll get to see, before prosecutors will, what's there.
It's a defeat for the president. Because if there is a dispute over whether something is privileged or not, the federal prosecutors will get to see it. And it may contain something confidential that he gave to Michael Cohen.
And that's what makes this so complicated, too, because let's not get it too twisted. Cohen and the president are not necessarily on the same side here. Is necessarily on his side.
Well, Cohen is terribly fearful, and rightly so, of an indictment by the feds. He's going to do what he has to keep himself free. He'd like to keep himself from becoming a defendant, but they've indicated they will pursue an indictment of him for a variety of crimes.
Why did we need to know the names of the other clients? And I was surprised that, Cohen only had a couple clients.
Okay, this is a little...
Why did we need to know that?
Okay, this is unusual because the government said to the court, he only has one client, we all know who it is. Cohen's lawyer said, oh no, he has more than one client. The judge said, who are they? And that's when Elliot Briotti's name came out. And then, well, there's a third client who doesn't want his name out. The judge said, Mr. Cohen, I'm going to put you on the stand, administer the oath to you, and ask you myself who the third client is unless you tell us. Whispers into the ear. And then the dramatic, the third client is Sean Hannity.
The reveal of Sean Hannity. Right. Real quickly about Sean. He says that he was never a client, and then he wants client-attorney privilege. How does that happen?
I love him, and we've worked with him for 20 years. He can't have it both ways. If he was a client, then his confidential communications to Mr. Cohen are privileged. If Mr. Cohen was never his lawyer, then nothing that he said to Mr. Cohen is privileged.
Cohen says he was a client. Sean Hannity says he wasn't. He may have given him $10. And I've heard people say if you give somebody anything of value, that it creates that client-attorney privilege.
I must tell you that is a myth. The attorney-client privilege requires a formal relationship reduced to writing for a specific legal purpose.
So anything that is there regarding Sean Hannity can be revealed?
In my view, yes.
One last question for you. Where are we going with this adult film star? What does she want? Do we know?
I think she wants the publicity that she and her
attorney
are very adroitly getting. She says that she wants a court to determine that her agreement that Michael Cohen prepared, that wasn't signed by Donald Trump, he wasn't president at the time, is invalid, but she's been treating it as if it's invalid anyway by going all over the place.
And they haven't gone after her.
No, they have. They claim that they're going to go after her for $1 million each time she spoke.
Well, that's what Cohen said. Look where he is right now.
Right.
I don't think he'll be saying it
I don't think she has that kind of cash.
Who does? But she says she's been getting called more because of her line of business. We'll move on.
Okay.
Judge Knaps, thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. No matter what we talk about, it's a pleasure.
All right. We'll bring you back soon. The battle between the state of California and the White House is on. Governor Jerry Brown speaking out about whether he will comply with the administration's request to deploy National Guard troops to the border. The president has gone after him on Twitter now. And Republican lawmakers may allow a little more time for the Justice Department to turn over James Comey's memos he wrote about in his conversations with the president. Judge, I almost wish you could stay, because if he wrote about it in the book, why can't we